Jaya Jaya Shri Nanda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Can someone please read?
Can I read?
Please, yeah.
That the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, sorry, my screen disappeared. Yeah. That the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, is all perfect, is confirmed in all Shruti mantras. It is said in the Shruti mantras that the all perfect Lord glanced over matter and thus created all living beings. The living beings are parts and parcels of the Lord, and he impregnates the vast material nature with the seeds of the spiritual spark. Thus, the creative energies are set in motion for so many wonderful creations. When one atheist argued that God is no more expert than the manufacturer of a subtle watch that has so many delicate parts, he had to reply that God is a greater mechanic than the watchmaker because he creates one machine in male and female forms that go on producing innumerable similar machines without the further attention of God. If a man if a man could manufacture a set of machines capable of producing other machines without the man giving the matter any further attention, then that man could be said to equal the intelligence of God. But that is not possible. Each and every one of man's imperfect machine has to be handled individually by a mechanic, because no one can be equal to God in intelligence. Another name for God is Asamordhyava, which indicates that no one is equal to or greater than him. Everyone has his intellectual equal and superior, and no one can claim he is neither. But this is not the case with the Lord. The Suti mantras indicate that before the creation of all material universes, there existed the Lord, who is the master of everyone. It was the Lord who instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge. That personality of Godhead has to be obeyed in all respects. Anyone who wants to become freed from material entanglement must surrender unto him, and that is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita.
So here Lord Chaitanya is saying, the Shruti mantras are speaking about the Lord. And it is said that the Lord is all perfect. So the Lord, which specific avatar glanced over matter and thus created the living beings?
Vishnu, right? Lord
Yeah,
Vishnu.
that's right. That's right. Mahavishnu.
Mahavishnu. Okay.
Yeah. And then living beings, we are parts and parcels of the Lord. And He puts us in this material nature, impregnates the material nature. And there's so much creation, as we just said, that how you're like looking at the creation, but who is the creator? When someone says there's no creator, Prabhupada is saying that one person didn't believe in God, and he said that a man can create like such a magnificent machinery as a watch, so many parts are going around, automatically give the time. But then the argument is, can a watch reproduce by itself and create more watches? No, no. But God, He has created like that. He created man and woman, and man and woman can create many, many, many more men and women. But a watch, keep two watches together, but they are not going to be able to create another watch. So we have to understand that God's intelligence is much greater than our intelligence. Asamordhava. Asamordhava is Krishna. that no one is equal to or greater than him in any respect. We may have someone who's equal to us or greater to us in so many fields, equal and greater to us. So many fields we could be. It could be knowledge, it could be devotion, it could be strength, so many different things. But Krishna, no one can be equal to or greater than Krishna in any field. So, the material world existed only after the Lord created it. The Lord is there before. And anyone who wants to understand this spiritual knowledge, anyone who wants liberation, who wants to get out of this material world, must surrender to Krishna. Krishna says, Sarva Dharmam Parityagya, just surrender unto me. Without surrendering to Krishna, we will not be able to get out of this material world. And anyone who's in knowledge after many, many years, many, many births and deaths, one who's cultivating knowledge will come to the point of surrender to Krishna. Krishna himself says this in Bhagavad Gita. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavanmam pravippatyate. That after many, many births and deaths, one who is in knowledge surrenders unto Krishna, knowing that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Unless one surrenders,
Unless one surrenders unto the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, it is sure and certain that one will be bewildered, even if he happens to be a great mind. Only when great minds surrender unto the lotus feet of Vasudeva and know fully that Vasudeva is the cause of all causes, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 7.19, can they become Mahatmas or the truly broad-minded. But such broad-minded Mahatmas are rarely seen. Only they, however, can understand that the Supreme Lord, the absolute personality of Godhead, is the primal cause of all creations. He is the ultimate, the Parama, truth, because all other truths are dependent on him. And because he is the source of everyone's knowledge, he is omniscient. There is no illusion for him, and there is for the relative knower.
as there is. He is omniscient. There's no illusion for him, as there is for the relative. So Krishna can never be an illusion. We are in illusion. We understand relative knowledge. We have only relative knowledge. We know only relative truth. But Krishna is the absolute truth. He is omniscient because all knowledge is coming from him. So he knows everything. Whatever we know, we have heard, we have not heard, Krishna knows. Because he's the origin of all knowledge. All knowledge comes from him. So here the reference is the verse that we were just speaking, Bhaunam Janmanam Ate Jnanavan Brahm Prapadyam. And one who is in knowledge after many, many births and deaths, he becomes a great soul Mahatma. Why? Because he surrenders to Krishna. But some Mahatmas Sudurlabha, Durlabha, very rarely seen. Not many of them, but only they can understand Krishna's position as the Supreme. Understanding Krishna's position.
Some Mayavadi scholars argue that Srimad Bhagavatam was not compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, and some suggest that the book is a modern creation written by someone named Vopoa Deva. In order to refute this meaningless argument, Srila Sridhara Swami points out that many of the oldest Puranas make a reference to Srimad Bhagavatam. The first shloka of verse of Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the Gayatri Mantra, and there is reference to this in the Matsya Purana, the oldest Purana. In that Purana, it is said about the Bhagavatam that in there are many narrations and spiritual instructions, that it begins with the Gayatri Mantra, and that it contains the history of Vistrasura. It is also said that whoever makes a gift of this great work on a full moon day attains to the highest perfection of life and goes back to Godhead. There is also reference to Srimad Bhagavatam and other Puranas, even with which even indicate that the work consists of 12 cantos and 18,000 shlokas. In the Padma Purana, there is also a reference to Srimad Bhagavatam during a conversation between Gautama and Maharaj Ambrish. The king was advised to read Srimad Bhagavatam regularly if at all desired liberation from material bondage. Under these circumstances, there is no doubt regarding the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the past 500 years, since the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, many scholars have made elaborate commentaries upon Srimad Bhagavatam and have displayed unique scholarship. The serious student who will do well to attempt to go through these commentaries more in order to more happily relish the transcendental messages of the Bhagavatam.
So here Prabhupada is pointing out that there is some misinformation saying that, oh, Bhagavatam is not written by Vyasadev, compiled by Vyasadev, somebody else, Bopadev is saying, but this is just a meaningless argument. And Srila Sridhar Swami, he's giving us so much evidence from the different Puranas which make reference to Srimad Bhagavatam. The Puranas were they are such old, like it said, Matsya Puran, the oldest Puran. And then there is the that it contains the history of Vritrasur. This is what Matsya Puran is saying. And we are seeing Bhagavatam, yeah. It begins with the Janmadhyasya Yata. And Vyasadeva has put the Gayatri Mantra Dhimahi there. And the story of Vritrasur is there in Bhagavatam. We are going to come to that. And even Bhagavatam is writing itself. So there is references in the other Puranas about Bhagavatam and what it writes. And Bhagavatam itself has those works. Like Matsya Purana is saying Bhagavatam speaks of Vritrasur. And yes, Bhagavatam speaks of Vritrasur. And then it also is said that whoever makes a gift of this Bhagavatam on a full moon day goes back home, back to Godhead. And yes, Bhagavatam does say that. So also it says that other Puranas say that Bhagavatam has 12 cantos. And yes, Bhagavatam does have 12 cantos. And the Padma Puran is saying Bhagavatam has a conversation between Gautam and Maharaj Ambarish. And so all these discussions, conversations are there in the Bhagavatam. The other Puranas are giving evidence upon it. And then Prabhupada is saying that there are many commentaries, the bona fide commentaries by the devotees. There are many commentaries. And it will benefit one to go through these commentaries, to study the commentaries, to relish Bhagavatam more. There are commentaries by like Sridhar Swami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, so many of the devotees do refer to their works also.
In his commentary on the Bhagavatam, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur especially deals with original and pure sex psychology, Adi Rasa, devoid of all mundane inebriety. The entire material world turns due to the basic principle of sex life. In modern human civilization, sex is the central point of all activities. Indeed, wherever we turn our face, we see sex life prominent. Thus, sex life is not unreal, but its true reality is experienced in the spiritual world. Material sex is but a perverted reflection of the original. The original is found in the absolute truth. This validates the fact that the absolute truth is personal, for the absolute truth cannot be impersonal and have a sense of pure sex life. The impersonal monist philosophy has given an indirect impute to abominable, mundane sex because it overly stresses the impersonality of the ultimate truth. The result is that men who lack knowledge have accepted perverted material sex life as all in all because they have no information of actual spiritual form of sex. There's a distinct there's a distinction between sex in the diseased condition of material life and sex in the spiritual. Srimad Bhagavatam gradually elevates the unbiased reader to the highest perfectional stage of transcendence. Above the three kinds of material activities, namely fruitive actions, speculative philosophy, and worship of functional deities, indicated in the Vedas, Srimad Bhagavatam is the embodiment of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and is therefore situated in a position superior to other Vedic literatures.
So Srila Prabhupada is telling us about the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. His Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on Bhagavatam, which specifically deals with original pure sex. Because sex exists in God, and that's the reason sex exists in the material world. If we say no, sex does not exist in God, then that's why the impersonal theory comes. As Prabhupada is putting here, because the impersonalists, they think that, oh, God is not a person. But God is a person. How can we have something that God does not have? What's the meaning of God otherwise? The only difference we have to understand is that we have material sex, which is what we understand, but there is spiritual sex, which we are not able to understand. But just because we are not able to understand, it does not mean that it does not exist. And because people don't want to accept this truth, they say God is not a person, that God is just some energy or some light. But no, God is a person. So by reading Bhagavatam, we can gradually clean our consciousness, gradually get rid of the material contamination and understand that, yes, Krishna has all the qualities, but on the perfect platform, not on the material platform. There's a difference. Anyone wanted to add a question or comment? No, then we continue to
Yeah.
read.
Religion includes.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, the screen is not there. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Religion includes four primary subjects: pious activities, economic development, satisfaction of the senses, and liberation from material bondage. Religious life is distinguished from the irreligious life of barbarism. Indeed, it may be said that human life actually begins with religion. The four principles of animal life, eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, are common to both the animals and human beings. But religion is the special concern of human beings. Since human life without religion is no better than animal life, in real human society there is some form of religion aiming at self-realization and referring to one's eternal relationship with God.
Hmm. So, what is the distinction between man and human being?
Human being and animal, you mean?
I'm sorry. Yeah, human being and animal.
Animals, they just eat, sleep, defend, and mate. And
Hmm.
humans have sense that they can go, like, be self-realized and get into a relationship with God.
Yes. Thank you.
Mm. In the lower stage of human civilization, there's always competition between men in their attempt to dominate material nature. In other words, there is continuous rivalry in an attempt to satisfy the senses. Thus, driven by sense gratificatory consciousness, men perform religious rituals and pious activities with the aim of acquiring some material gain. But if such material gain is obtainable in other way and in another way, this so-called religion is neglected. This can be seen in human civilization, in modern human civilization. Since the economic desire of the people appear to be fulfilled in another way, no one is interested in the religion now. The churches, mosques, and temples are practically vacant for people are practically vacant. For people are more interested in factories, shops, cinemas than in the religious places erected by their forefathers. This definitely proves that religious rituals are generally performed for the sake of economic development, which is needed for sense gratification. And when one is baffled in this attempt to gain sense gratification, he takes to the cause of salvation in order to become one with the Supreme Whole. All these activities arise in the same aim in view, sense gratification.
So Prabhupada is helping us understand that, okay, we are doing some religious, pious activity, but why are we doing it? So that we can enjoy. Dharma, artha, kama. We do some pious activity so that we can get economic development. We can become richer so that we can have sense gratification. Then what happens? Sense gratification, one gets frustrated. Then one says, I want to become one with God because, oh, living in the material world is so frustrating. I want to stop being an individual anymore. And I want to become one with God. But that's also a sense gratification, becoming one with God, because, that's still a material desire.
But that will happen only because with His mercy, right? Otherwise, you don't have the control to even think about it.
No, but we can never become one with God. We have to understand that. We cannot merge into the existence of God and say, okay, now I don't exist anymore, but now I am one with God. So when we say that, again, the individuality immediately comes, right? If one says, okay, right now I am one with God, that means what? I'm still an individual. I'm not God, I'm still a separate individual. So we can never actually become one with God, that we can merge into His existence and that we don't exist anymore. No. What is real liberation is we understand we are spirit souls, part and parcel of Krishna, eternal servant of Krishna, that we have a loving relationship with Krishna, and we engage in that loving relationship with Krishna. As we have loving relationships with others in this material world, we do things together, like that, engaging in service to Krishna. We can never become Krishna, become one with Krishna. And if someone says become one with Krishna, then the only way we can become one with Krishna is that we become one in the desire. That Krishna's desire is that we all come back home, back to Godhead. And we also get that desire, that we also go back home, back to Godhead. But when we go back to Godhead, we don't become one with Krishna. We don't merge into Him. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Four primary subjects mentioned above are prescribed in a regulative way so that there will not be undue competition for sense gratification. But Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental to all these sense gratifying activities of the material world. It is a purely transcendental literature understandable by the devotees of the Lord, who are above the competition for sense gratification. In the material world, there is competition between animals, between men, between communities, and even between nations in an attempt to gratify the senses. But the devotees of the Lord are above all this. Devotees have no need to compete with materialistic because they are on the path back to Godhead, back home, where everything is eternal and fully blissful. Such transcendentalists are 100% non-envious and are therefore pure in heart. Because everyone in the material world is envious, there is competition, but the transcendentalists or devotees of the Lord are not only free from all material envy, but are also kind to everyone in an attempt to establish a competition-less society with God in the center. The socialist idea of a society devoid of competition is artificial, because even in the socialist state, there is competition for the post of the dictator.
So the Vedas, they deal with this dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Bhagavatam does not have anything of this dharma, artha, kama, moksha, because dharma, artha, kama, moksha is still material. Material desires are there, that I want to be satisfying my senses. But Bhagavatam is transcendental. It's on the it speaks only of devotional service, nothing material. Nothing material. In the material world, what we are doing competing with each other. Even animals compete with each other. There's just competition. What's the competition? I want to enjoy. I want to enjoy. Let me see. I will enjoy more than you. But the devotees, they don't compete. Why? Because they understand that this is not the place, it's not a permanent home. They understand they need to go back home, back to Godhead. So they are not concerned to compete here with others. They're simply concerned to engage in devotional service, hearing and chanting about Krishna, because they really want to go back home. And so, because of this, they have no envy of another person. They're not competing with another person out of envy. In the material world, we are envious of each other. That is material platform. Conditioned platform means each of us is envious of each other because there's competition between us who can enjoy more. But the pure devotees, they don't have any envy in their heart. In fact, they want everyone to go back home, and that's the reason they are spreading the message of Bhagavad Gita, spreading the message of Lord Chaitanya, spreading the Harinam, Hare Krishna, Kirtan everywhere, because they want everyone to permanently be happy, not suffer here in the material world.
One question.
Yes.
In the material world, the devotees also can compete, right? In engaging in the devotional service.
But there's no
Krishna.
envy then. There's no malice. There's no malice in the
You
heart
can
of the
say,
pure
like,
devotee.
see, I am doing better. See, service. I
So,
can
yeah.
do, I can, right?
So, yeah. So, what happens in the spiritual platform? There will be competition to serve more, but there's no malice. Why that one wants to serve more is to serve Krishna, to make Krishna more happier. But there's no malice toward the other person. So there will be competition on the spiritual platform between the pure devotees, but there won't be malice. Do you understand? That yes, I'm doing more service, but not so that I can become greater than you.
I'm
No.
doing more
So that,
service, or you can say that I am, see, my explanation is good. I think I can explain it better. I
but
don't
then
know.
that's material thought.
Material, yeah. Because you're
Yeah,
in the
that's
material.
material. Yeah, that's material. That is not on the pure transcendental platform.
Yeah.
We are talking about the pure devotees.
No, I'm
We
talking
are
about just the regular, the normal.
we are material world. We are conditioned souls.
Yeah.
We are conditioned souls.
So
So of
that's why,
course
like,
there's
in
envy in our
engaging
heart.
in devotional service, like you want to do, but like you want to show that, see, I'm more devoted, see how much I can do.
Yeah, yeah. So this is material qualities, not spiritual.
Mhm.
Not spiritual. On the spiritual platform, there will be competition that let me do more service. But why? To please Krishna. There will
Yeah.
not be to, yeah,
Yeah. The ultimate is to please Krishna. But
yeah.
then that ego also comes, right?
So
Also
that is material.
material.
Then
Okay.
we are using devotional service to feed our ego.
Yes, right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's material.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hare Krishna.
yes.
Is it like you can put it that way? Like, according to me, it is like, if you're on the spiritual path, you want everybody to go together. So you put hand in hand and you walk on the same path. Where it
Yes.
is like, It is not like I am better or you are better or you are like, anything
Yes.
like that.
Yes, that's right. Thank
मतलब
you.
सबको साथ लेके चलो अपने. That is like
Yes.
where you
Yes,
push somebody below you, then that becomes material.
that's right.
Okay.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So, are there any other comments?
This is so much related to Prithu Maharaj also. He's so pure.
So, how can we connect it?
Prithu Maharaj? Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, he was so pure and he used to always be in devotional service, just serving Lord, thinking of Lord, very tolerant. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a pure devotee, of course. Yeah, so he didn't envy anyone. He didn't envy his citizens or anyone else. Yeah, he's a pure devotee of the Lord, and he engaged in his duties as a king perfectly as a service to Krishna. Yeah, without any envy. But on the material platform, we are full of envy. That's material world. Spiritual platform, no envy. Yeah. So let's stop here for today. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.